Since morning we have been talking about steel. So just a few stats about the steel. When we started the liberalization in the year 1991-92, our capacity was only 22 million tons, and more than this much capacity we have added in the last 2 years. So that shows the importance of steel to our economy. And since morning we are talking about decarbonization of steel. Let's say, yes, it should be decarbonized, but let us see what are the alternatives to steel. If I say aluminum emits almost 16 to 17 tons of CO2 per ton of aluminum. And then copper, almost 3.5 tons of CO2 per ton of copper. And steel is such a versatile material. We have almost 3,500 grades of steel to take care of practically every requirement. And also, as a country, coal is our national resource. We have 150 billion tons of coal reserves. So it is in our national interest that we utilize coal. And if we are able to just remove CO2 from this coal utilization, it is a clean system. I think Yash will agree with me.
Of course. So as Gauravji said, there is no alternative for steel. Let's be real.
Yes.
Also, we are a very coal-rich country. We have seen countries in the first world who have used up coal to develop their societies and provided various amenities to their citizens, and now are preaching to fix other countries and stop them from using coal. I think what Gauravji said was coal's only drawback is the emissions in CO2. So if we can somehow capture those emissions, coal is as green as any other energy source.
Agreed. Yes, in a typical steel plant, there are a number of emission channels, and all these flue gases have different composition. So, as a carbon capture technology supplier, how is your solution be amicable for all these steel plant emission channels?
That's a great question, Gauravji. I would like to preface my answer by going off of what Mr. Naveen was talking about, that we have to look at the entire chain to make sure that every decarbonization pathway that we choose is economically sustainable. So in that respect, the capture technology is also very important, because that becomes the 30 to 40% of the carbon capture plant is the core capture unit. Now, if we are able to decrease the costs of those capture units by 30 to 40%, that brings the ROI to be in a very favorable Goldilocks zone, which proliferates the adaptation across the industries. So to your question, Gauravji, there are several kinds of flue gas compositions that we target. We have looked at hard-to-abate industries as the first stepping stone towards a decarbonized future. So we have specialized solutions for thermal power plants, for example. So power plants running on coal, power plants running on gas, diesel. We have specialized solutions for those, and we boast currently the lowest cost of capture globally. Now, in terms of steel, steel is actually the lowest hanging fruit in terms of carbon capture. So I will take you to a very, very simple equation that we follow, a rule of thumb in carbon capture. If the concentration of carbon dioxide in the emission stream is high, that means the cost of capture is low. Now, to give you some perspective, if I am looking at a coal-based thermal power plant, we are looking at around 12 to 15% of CO2 concentration. But when we talk about steel, that is 97% CO2. So you can imagine the reductions in cost that steel industry can enjoy today if we are to go and start implementing carbon capture. Also, there are market forces, right? So CBAM is coming up. CBAM mandates that any exports from India is abated in terms of CO2 emissions. So I think the far future is definitely an hydrogen-based DRI solution. But for me, sustainability also means making sure that the current assets that are already developed in the market get an extended runway in the future. And that is what CCUS will do. CCS will allow blast furnaces and natural gas DRIs plants to run longer because the CO2 emissions have now been captured and now they are producing green steel. We are looking at a completely retrofittable solution. Whereas in hydrogen, we have to look at new technologies, we have to develop new plants. There is more capital investment that goes into a hydrogen-based DRI system. So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Yes. Look, just to moving ahead from here, there are two types of solution. Either I get a magic wand and all of a sudden coal-based steel is replaced by hydrogen-based steel, which we say that future. But till then, we'll have to work with our existing facilities. Only 25 million tons of steel making capacity has been commissioned in the last 2 years. And these facilities will operate for another 20, 25, 30, 35 years. And we have to operate these facilities because steel is good for economical growth as well. So in this regards, yes, told by Naveenji, there are several low-hanging fruits like improving energy efficiency, improving process efficiency, feedstock development, and carbon capture is one thing which will make our transition towards green hydrogen-based steel making much easier. Speaking of steel, now you have another revenue called gasification. So how your carbon capture technology solution is adaptable to various sectors? Mind you, flue gases will have different compositions.
That is correct. So it's not just the concentration of CO2 sometimes that matters. We are doing feasibility studies right now with some of the players in Middle East who have shown us that, for example, if you were to process natural gas now, and as well as coal, right? So when we process coal and we gasify, there is a high possibility of hydrogen sulfide to be entering into the feed stream. Now, hydrogen sulfide is a very difficult gas to deal with. So those are the kinds of things that we bring in to these projects to make sure that these projects are not just economically sustainable, but they also run at the promised performance throughout the life of the plant. And as I said, we are heavy believers in sustainability and making sure projects do work for their lifetime. And those are the kinds of optimizations that we're looking at. And when I said that we have specialized solutions for these industries, that is what I meant. That it is not just swapping the media that is capturing CO2. Exactly. It is also about adding equipment and also looking at collaborators to making sure that these projects succeed at the scale that we need them to, at a commercial scale.
Because one scheme, let's say a carbon capture solution which is very good for power may not work for steel. It may be good for steel. So accordingly, with each sector, we have to fine tune our carbon capture technology.
Of course. So what we have done is that we have taken all of that guesswork out. So essentially, when we look at a carbon capture solution, we are able to produce a standard product from the capture unit. And that standard product is liquefied food grade CO2, which is a product and a commodity in the market today. So if you were to be looking at gaining some return on investment, you can come to us and we can then propose a solution which develops and produces food grade CO2 for the life of the project.
Look, see, carbon capture is not a new technology. It's a pretty mature technology. And as of now, almost 50 million tons of CO2 is being captured and sequestered globally. And around 1700 million tons of carbon capture capacity is at various phases of execution, be it at feasibility stage or execution stage. And another figure for steel market, almost 24 million tons of carbon capture capacity is being studied across various steel plants around the globe. So the good thing about carbon capture is that it lets you use your existing facility till the time you come up with another solution. So next question again to Yash. So if there are no constraints, so which sector you would like to target first and foremost with your, I'll say, technology offerings?
No constraints, absolutely steel. As I said, 97% pure CO2 is being emitted from blast furnaces. It is absolutely ripe to be captured and converted at a very, very low cost. And you are looking at an ROI of a 25-year running plant within 5 to 6 years. Now, that solves so many problems like CBAM. We can be a global leader across the world in utilizing CCUS to produce green steel. Absolutely, steel.
Okay, we all agree that steel has to be decarbonized. So anyone here who will say that apart from steel, there should be some other sector which we should take up on priority?
So I'll take your suggestion. Cement, absolutely. Cement. The good and bad thing about cement is that the bad thing is cement cannot be decarbonized through renewable energy. There are CO2 emissions that are from the process itself. When you mine calcium carbonate and you heat it to make lime, which is calcium oxide, which is a precursor to cement, CO2 is released. There is absolutely no alternative to cement right now. The only problem with cement that we have seen in the industry is there is not a lot of agility towards new technologies. We don't export a lot of cement. Most of the cement goes to maybe Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. So we don't have those market drivers in place like we do for steel. So cement, absolutely, I would love to, because it is a very clean way of capturing CO2. It does not have a lot of impurities, even in the flue gas stream. Mostly it's nitrogen and a bit of oxygen.
And also, just to add one good point about cement, that cement is the second most consumed commodity on earth after water.
Absolutely. As I said, cement is ready for the taking, but we have to be realistic. We don't have the market drivers.